So the text is the contribution of my sister, Ella Schoefer-Wulf, who is an artist and writer, and she wrote it in response to the space and all the elements in it that I shared with her. So I think it would be nice if she read the text. If you want, Ella.
I'm having a small situation with my keyboard. My Zoom is stuck.
Okay, I can read it too if you want.
Yes, please.
Okay. So the text says, digital space is a mirage of textual code. It rearranges itself as you approach it, becoming and shifting as you navigate. You cannot pinpoint the moment of origin, much like a finger touching the sun or the way you once lived in water to become.
Thank you so much. And I also saw that there is a small little text by that shell.
Yes. Yeah, so there's a little text fragment right below the drawing of the shell that maybe once I tell you a little bit about the space, then it would make sense to go there again and read it and also listen to the sounds again, I think. So should I talk a little bit about the space?
Please, that would be amazing.
Okay, great. It's interesting because I noticed that I was very resistant initially to put sort of personal things in the space because it felt so unfamiliar to me and sort of, I don't know, a little scary or something. So then I decided to lean into that and just kind of push in that way, because I wanted to figure out what was going on with my feelings towards the space. So I kind of built the piece around an excerpt of a video I made a while ago that you see playing sort of in the center of the space. And it's an excerpt of a video titled 535 Tide Cycles, December 26, 1986 to September 28, 1987. And the video is basically, the full-length video is 9 minutes and 9 seconds. And to make it, I painted watercolor on 16mm film to translate oceanographic data published by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, basically charting the high and low tides that took place in the 9 months that my mother was pregnant with me. So this is just an excerpt of that full video. And something else I was thinking about in relation to this piece is the idea of an unstable horizon and how we orient ourselves in relation to something that is actually not as static as sort of traditional painting and navigation methods pretended it is. So that's something I was interested in. And then the other components in the space, the watercolor painting I made in dialogue with my sister, who also contributed the writing. We did an exchange of watercolors between Berlin and Berkeley. So everything in the space is drawn or handwritten. So I wanted to see what it would be like to digitize or scan lots of things I made with my hand, and also then sort of play with relationships of scale. And I think the last thing I'll say is that the sound in the video is actually the sound of the 16mm projector that I just manipulated. So it kind of sounds like the ocean now, but it's actually just the sound of the film material that I recorded. And then you'll see, I don't know, for me, it's not showing up very well, but I think it just depends on everybody's technology. There are two tracings of left hands, sort of on the upper left-hand corner of the Tide video. And in there, I've embedded the sound of the sun, the movement of the sun as recorded by NASA. And I'm thinking a lot about, well, a lot of things, but I'll just say distance and translation and touch, and that which can't be touched. And also time scales existing sort of on top of each other.
Hmm. Thank you, Maxine. This
Thank
is
you.
I would be very interested in how how do you weave together the sun, the moon, and the ocean, and then all of these very personal. Like I'm really intrigued by the different scales of, first of all, intimacy as we have experienced in the several different studios today, but also in here, like how you go from this cosmic, grandiose scene into the most personal uh, fetus phase of recording your experience as being a fetus of some sort almost.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, that's sort of what drives my practice, is kind of trying to find the ways to move between those scales. And I think one way is sort of exemplified in the Tide video, where I think it's not only moving between these scales, but then also kind of trying to reinscribe some subjectivity, or I mean, really basically like drawing or handmade marks into systems of charting and tracking phenomena like a tide or like the sun, which so many of these systems are mediated through kind of like the military industrial complex almost, or the government, or systems that have also been used to impose power. And so what does it mean if I reinscribe those things or reabstract them by hand? And I think similarly, what does it mean to bring a sound recorded by NASA into a space that's also exploring my family lineage and sort of personal histories?
And how did you feel at the end of building this, when you first said that it was just so intimidating and you were almost scared at the beginning? I think it's such a legit feeling that we encounter, right? And I'm curious if it changed, or how do you feel now?
I think I'm not sure yet. I think I feel that I've kind of sort of maybe abstracted things enough that I don't feel like I've given too much of my personal away. But I also, yeah, it's also something to contend with. I mean, this is another platform and system that we're now sort of moving in as artists, and what does that mean? I think
Maybe
if
this
that
is
makes
a maybe this is a question for actually all our visitors, right? How they feel about this.
mm-hmm.
And also just please, everyone, feel free to join the conversation and ask questions or add your comments. I would be can you please tell me about the left hand? There are two left hands, and I was wondering if it is your sister and you, or
Yeah, it's actually the one left hand is mine, and the other is a tracing of my grandma's left hand. Yeah, and I sort of, and then yeah, the sun sound is right in our fingers.
And this also is so related to the little text by the shell. But could you please repeat that again? What is that? Few words.
Sorry?
Could you please repeat again what are the few words by the little shell in front of the video?
I have to look. I have to, 1 second.
Is it that how sand contains every
yeah, but let me
wave?
find the exact words so that I'm not misquoting my sister.
Okay.
Give me one
I didn't want to misquote your sister either, but it's basically says how every.
Okay, here I have it. Yeah. It says something passed down from wave to sand.
Hmm. Which I found such a beautiful layer to what we experience, and how can we think about ourselves, but maybe beyond ourselves, as being sand and waves.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, something I should add is that I don't know if I said this, but the tide video is specifically my mom went swimming when she was pregnant with me the day before I was born at Ocean Beach. So the tide data that I transcribed is specifically tide data of that place. And then the shell is a shell I found just in November at Ocean Beach. So I'm also thinking about sort of the unfixedness of a place, or sort of change contained in sameness, or sameness contained in change, or sort of, how the return to a place and the unstaticness of all of that. Very abstract, but yeah, that's sort of.
I can you please repeat? Is it like in the sameness or sameness, when things are the same, or the insanity of?
It's like you return to the same place. I guess that's what I was thinking about specifically with this tide video too. Like, is it the same water that we enter? Is it totally different? It's kind of both, right?
Of course.
So that I can hold all of those things.
Which goes back to like each and every life is the same, but it's different, and how do we relate to, and how do we experience these spaces?
Yeah.
But I'm just like so amazed by these very subtle details that comes through all of your spaces, that especially if you can spend some time and really observe and understand how they are related, it certainly gives me a very home-like feeling. Just and I find the shape of this sphere, and there is this rapture, but like, so you can be in and out. Is it like a cozy nest, or is it a trap, or is it like the opening to something that we can explore together beyond? And what does that mean? So does anyone have some questions for our artists?
Well, quick, Maxine, I love your space. It's so great to be here. And I was just thinking about how, like, I was really obsessed with the hands, and how having the hands on top of one another becomes its own wave, like a hello wave, And I thought it was like, there's like, I feel like more like I'm in a cave in this space, like, and thinking a lot about like the first impressions, like those handprints in like the caves of Lascaux and things like that. So I don't know, there's something like very, I don't know, like primordial or something about being in here, which is really different than the other spaces we were in together.
That's the tear in the watercolor happened on accident. Like, I don't know. I have to say, you were so patient with me. I learned so much about Photoshop and so much about VR in like 10 days. But then I kind of wanted to keep it as, I don't know, I like how you can layer so much in this space. And so sort of one thing can open into another and into another in a way that I've never really been able to do in physical space, or just with one video, for example. So it's really cool to explore what this space can do.